If you're just tuning in, Matthew was telling us parts of Shelby Avenue and Woodland Street are also closed, as well as Interstate Drive right there next to I-24, the area between East Nashville and the Nissan Stadium area. So keep that in mind. This investigation could take a while. And earlier we heard from the public information officer, Don Aaron, about what they encountered when they first came up to that crash this morning.
The police car was spun around, and then the car was forced very hard into a utility pole. The DUI officer who had attempted to stop the Ford Fusion earlier actually drove up on the crash. He didn't see it, but drove up on it, radioed for assistance, and Officer Anderson was deceased here at the scene. As you may have heard reports, the police car did catch fire due to those very hard impacts by the Ford Fusion and with the pole.
Anderson died in a crash near Nissan Stadium earlier this morning. We've been covering this on the ground and in the air with Sky 5 all morning long. Right now, let's head back out to News Channel 5's Hannah McDonald, who is live at the scene on Interstate Drive. Hannah, I know it's been sticking with most of us who are covering this morning, the idea that all of these officers were saluting Officer John Anderson as his remains were brought away from the scene.
Yeah, I think part of that had to do with the fact that he's on this drill and ceremony team. So he was someone who really cared about pomp and circumstance and representing the police department positively and professionally. That is what that team is about. They travel as a unit to other officers' funerals, no less. So to see him go in the way he did was probably something that was extremely, skin deep for these officers. And I don't know what it is about deaths on holidays, but this date will never be the same for any officer in the Metro Nashville Police Department. July 4th, the day we're all supposed to be barbecuing and celebrating and looking at Nashville's amazing fireworks show. Now none of these officers are going to enjoy that the same way they would have without this passing. Officer John Anderson Young, just 28 years old, only on the force for 4 years, but was well liked and pretty well known for being a guy who worked overnight in the midnight shift. We understand that he was hit by someone who at one point was suspected to possibly be a drunk driver, although according to the Nashville police spokesperson, Don Aaron, that person didn't appear to be overtly intoxicated. But all of this is still very preliminary. It's only 7:45 in the morning, and this crash was 4.5 hours ago. But that driver is hospitalized right now, and she is only 17 years old. But to echo what Matthew said, anywhere you look right now, you are hearing from members of law enforcement, the community, just sending their good thoughts to this police department, because it's a big one, but they do seem to be very close this morning, and that goes to say that's true after we saw that salute or heard about it.
All right, Hannah, thanks so much for covering this difficult story all morning long. Now, Metro Police have told us time and time again that Officer Anderson was a big part of the department. He was extremely well liked. We've learned a little bit more about him in a news conference that you may have watched a little bit earlier this morning. He was 28 years old. He started working as a Metro officer back on November 1st, 2014. He worked for the Central Precinct, which covers the downtown Nashville area. And on top of that, he works the overnight shift starting at midnight. And he was working that overnight shift on a holiday when he was going to help someone who was walking on the interstate when he was hit in that intersection. Officers are hit hard by this deadly accident. PIO Don Aaron, that's Public Information Officer, described a little earlier about what Officer Anderson was like.
Officer John Anderson is 28 years old. He was a 4-year veteran of the Metro Police Department. He joined us on November 1st of 2014. He was also a member of the drill and ceremony team. His regular assignment was the midnight shift at the Central Precinct.